is a prudent person to do when it comes to Bitcoin? What is the right allocation within your portfolio? So, you can make that analogy to the stock market and say, well, Meta is 2.5% of the S&P 500 or 1.5% of global equities. So, and they have similar market caps. So maybe that's kind of like a good starting point to think about, like what's an index type allocation to Bitcoin itself. But there is a risk. The risk goes both ways. Sure, maybe Bitcoin's a scam. Maybe it falls apart. All of the things that the negative, the skeptics and the bears say. In which case you lose potentially up to 100% of your investment. On the other hand, if folks like Michael Saylor are directionally correct and there's vast additional upside to be had, you do not really want to miss out on that. And
so it's one of those holdings that you just kind of buy and hold and you watch and you see, and you're not like trading in and out of it. You're just, because I'm not somebody in general, right, who's trying to trade in and out of things. I know you're not either. You don't want the cap gains. If nothing else, you don't want the cap gains hit. When things go way up, you trade it and, then you're going to pay some taxes on it. Ideally, you wait until an appropriate time in your life when you're sort of ready to be selling assets like that. But if I have a friend who bought Bitcoin years ago, and really, it's a religion, right? For him, a real religion. And it didn't matter. Like Bitcoin could go to zero and he would still hold it and value it and love it as much as, if it was at $1 million. He just is really, really sort of wedded to this idea. And I guess he's one of the maximalists. I'm not there, but I'm also just, very practical. And I hear you. I'm with you, because you want to have some exposure, in my estimation anyway, for my own personal being. I want some exposure to the potential upside. And I don't want to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I should have done that. Like, why didn't I?
Right. And if you bought, even if it were just 1% allocation and it did go up 10 times, well, then maybe over time it would become something like a 10% allocation within your portfolio. So there would be material participation in that.
Yes.
Certainly, you'd look back in retrospect and say, gee, I should have put all my money in it.
But
obviously, but obviously that's how investing goes. You want diversification. When you're dealing with highly volatile, high risk investments like cryptocurrencies, the way you address that is through position sizing, and you don't make it a huge chunk of your portfolio. You appropriately size it based on the volatility, as you might like a tech stock, a highly volatile tech stock that could fail too, right? So that's how I would suggest investors.
That's how you think about it, like a highly volatile tech stock. Just doesn't have any earnings.
Well,
some of the tech stocks back in the day didn't have any earnings either.
A lot of assets, though, gold doesn't really have any earnings, or artwork doesn't have earnings, or land. Well, land you can lease out, but actually with Ethereum, you could stake it, and there's a method to generate income off of Ethereum, which is sort of a interesting detail about that particular technology or how that one works. Don't ask me to explain
we can do that in another show, another time. Yeah. But for the diehards out there. But if you're interested in all of this, again, we put a pretty comprehensive report out just on Friday, and I really encourage people to go to 76 Research to get the 76 report. You can just use code word dollar, DOLLAR. One of these days, just for fun, we should change it to code word Bitcoin. Right? Just for the heck of it. Just for a couple of weeks, and then we'll get to see who really, really is into Bitcoin. But anyway, use code word dollar, DOLLAR at 76research.com and read that report. Again, I don't, we never want to steer you wrong. We have no bias in this other than, we're in real time figuring it out ourselves as well. And we were certainly impressed. I've always been very impressed by this space. I think that there's much, much more to come there. Go over to 76 Research, get the report, and we will see you back here on the channel and on the show. Can you believe that, Rob? I went this whole time and I forgot to ask people to subscribe to the channel at 76 Research. And we'll see you back here and on the Trish Regan Show.